Trust the media, they're all full of lies. What you know a little bit, all hoping you die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die. Live free or die.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Hardfire Television on Brooklyn Free Speech Cable Network. Libertarian Issues in Focus. With me today, I have Alex Merced.
Hey, everybody.
Alex is a libertarian activist and a trainer on Wall Street, and is running for Congress as we speak in the United States Senate. But today, on this episode, we'll be talking about books which are important to me. And so I've asked Alex to come on the show and to discuss a couple books. Why don't you show us what they are?
So, once again, my name's Alex Merced. I'm running for U.S. Senate here in New York, and there's a lot of books that are really important to me. And you can find a lot of those books over there at my website, alexmerced.com. So that's my personal website, alexmerced.com, where there's a reading list of all the books that I think are amazing reads. My campaign website's alexmercedforny.com. But a couple of the books I brought here today include The Primal Prescription by Robert Murphy and Doug McGuff. This is probably one of the best books I've read on the healthcare issue. It basically spends the first part of the book going through the history of how the healthcare system developed to the system we have today, giving you a perspective of how the problem came to be. And there's also portions of the book that goes into, one, what you can do to protect your own health as an individual, and also what kind of policies need to be rolled back in order to get back to a common sense healthcare system.
Let me ask you this now. Before we were talking about progressives, right? Wasn't that and has not that been a goal of progressives ever since the 1930s, which is to have socialized medicine or government medicine? Basically,
definitely a consistent goal of progressives is that they basically do, like Paul Krugman always jokes around that the government is just basically an insurance company with an army. And that's truly how progressives think about it. They truly think of a government as an insurance agency that provides social insurance to the people. But there's a huge problem with that.
Yeah, that debate goes way back.
But the most important point is that what makes insurance work, what makes insurance markets work, is pricing. And I always use this analogy that if you buy a car insurance, if it's a red car or several other factors, your car insurance may be more expensive. The reason is because you're making a more risky decision. The fact that you're paying more then signals to you that maybe you shouldn't buy that car, or you choose to take the risk and pay for the higher insurance premium. But the idea is that it does discourage people who don't want to pay more from making more risky decisions.
Yeah, the pricing mechanism.
Correct. So the price, and that's where the
next
book comes
Hayek.
in.
Yeah.
So a beauty of this book, The Fatal Conceit, basically explains exactly why socialism and basically having government control everything is a bad idea, and mainly for that argument that I just made. Prices.
Alex, this book was my introduction to libertarianism. I read this when it first came out in 1989.
Wow.
I got it at a used bookstore, review copy in there, and I read one paragraph and I was like, okay, maybe I will pursue a PhD in economics one day. And of course, it took 10 years later that I finally did it, but that's a very, very deep, good, well-written book.
Very good book.
Yeah.
So basically here, this tells you about healthcare insurance specifically, but if you want to understand why prices are so important, and I mean, to me, I always harp on the prices of insurance, and this is why I talk about things like privatizing unemployment and deposit insurance. When people hear that, they're like, what?
Yeah, deposit insurance. Why can't that be privatized?
Privatized.
That would solve a lot of problems, like
that would
bailouts and all that.
It would reduce risk-taking by financial institutions, which is what a lot of people have issue with, risk-taking by financial institutions. But at the same time, it creates all sorts of incentives for better financial stewardship. So I have a video over there at alexmercedforny.com where I make that case for privatizing unemployment and deposit insurance.
Yeah. Do you ever read any of those Cato Institute studies?
Oh, I love the Cato Institute papers. Basically, there's a few institutions that put out a lot of great materials. There's Cato, the Mercatus Institute. I love reading stuff that comes out from FEE, the Foundation of Economic Education.
Which seems to get better and better all the time.
Institute of Humane Studies.
If I would recommend one, you know, if you're a lay person and you're it combines both current events as well as historically significant things. That's a foundation for economic education. They send out an email every day, which lists current things and historic things. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of really good institutions.
And it seems more of a shoestring thing than the Cato Institute, which is a huge organization now. I remember when it wasn't. but continue on with the healthcare problem
But on that note, as far as people who do want to know more about libertarian institutions, over there at alexmerced.com, there's a link that says the link list, which links libertarian podcasts, libertarian institutions like Cato and Fee. So and there also you'll find my reading list over there at alexmerced.com as well.
Yeah. Do you have who are the authors of this one?
So this is Robert Murphy and Doug McGuff. Now, Doug McGuff is a doctor. So basically, what he brings to the book is his personal experience as a doctor on the problems within the medical system today and the issues in people's health. Yeah. But then you also have Robert Murphy, very popular Austrian economist, explaining sort of the economics behind the history. So basically, together, you got a medical professional explaining the medical professional perspective, and you got an economist explaining the economic perspective, creating a very compelling vision of what's going on in our healthcare system and how do we fix it. So when people ask me, what do you plan on doing about healthcare? I say, I want to roll back government, but for you to really understand what that means is you need to read this book. So
Do they talk about the doctor-patient relationship? In other words, right now the incentives are not compatible between patients and doctors.
Yep, and he talks about how it got there. It's an amazing book.
My grandfather was an ear, nose, and throat specialist in the 1930s, and when the U.S. government stepped in and started telling him what he cannot do and charge his patients and things like that, he just stopped charging his patients because he didn't want to fill out all the paperwork. I mean, there's two clerks for every medical professional.
Oh yeah,
handling their paperwork. I mean, I remember when I got a new doctor here in Brooklyn. He said he actually went so far to tell his people what to code. Use code 00123 on that with that one, and use code 2246.
Nowadays you have.
I'm like, come on, are you kidding me? You study medicine. What is this?
And having all that extra labor put into it drives up the cost. So much.
Yeah, but that's what progressives wanted, and that's what they got.
So I highly recommend picking up this book. And a quick way to get to it, so that way you're not hunting around for it, is that there's an easy way. You just go to primal.libertydeal.link, and it'll take you right to the page to buy the book. So that's primal.libertydeal.link.
That's a brand new one, right?
This book, it only came out in the last year. It's an amazing book. And I keep recommending it to everybody and anyone.
Good. Well, thank you for coming on our show and promoting that. And let's take a look at the Hayek book again.
Hayek, yes.
So Frederick Hayek in 1945 had this article called "The Use of Knowledge in Society." I don't know if you've ever read that one.
I'm familiar with the arguments in it. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, that's the best. He says when the price system doesn't work, you have social crisis, right? So in our healthcare system, the pricing doesn't work due to the third-party interventions. And so therefore the social crisis is escalating costs and bad care. I mean, I know that do you have health insurance through your employer? Probably.
I have health insurance through my wife's employer.
Oh, very good. Very good. Because I know that I was under my school insurance until I got my PhD, and then I had to then hunt for private insurance. So the private insurance immediately went up 40% for me, my costs 2 years ago to 1 year ago. And now this year it's going up 15%. So that's 35% in 2 years.
An alternative that actually...
When we're supposed to have, zero inflation or 2% inflation? But, of course, it doesn't measure healthcare costs.
Yeah. There is an interesting alternative that I've been learning about. There's these things called health sharing ministries. And then there's one called Health Excellence Select. They were over there at the Libertarian National Convention. They actually have really affordable premiums, and they actually give you decent coverage, and they're exempt from the Obamacare mandate. So it's like this sort of affordable alternative for those who are looking for basically affordable care in a world where basically all the rules and all the laws do everything to make it as unaffordable as possible.
Can you check your IRS box that says, yes, I've had insurance all year?
Yes.
Can you give us a site to...
Yeah, it's Health Excellence Select. I don't know the exact website, but if you Google Health Excellence Select, you'll find it.
Yeah.
I think, it was for me and my wife.
This is serious stuff. I mean, this is like the second most expensive thing after food. For individuals. Monthly costs,
basically, housing, food, and healthcare. I mean, basically, if you take a look at basically progressives, they always like to point out this chart, where it shows you the chart of the increase in productivity over the last 30 years since the 70s versus incomes over the last 30 years. And it looks like suddenly income stagnated while productivity was increasing. But if you actually factor in the cost of healthcare,
Exactly.
it completely fills in that gap
Exactly.
between productivity
and
income.
And when you see all these income inequality figures that people throw out, I know I do sometimes when I want to
Yeah.
make a libertarian point. I know the progressives do when they
Yeah.
want to make a pro-state point. But the inequality income figures don't take into consideration employer-provided health care.
You factor that in, it explains the gap
It
almost
explains the
completely.
gap. But what I was saying about Hayek in 1945, so the American Economic Association about 2 or 3 years ago celebrated its 100th year, and they republished the top 20 articles in the first 100 years of the American Economic Review. And Hayek's Use of Knowledge in Society in 1945 is the only article in there that doesn't have mathematics.
Nice. Yes. Well, I mean, that's
Yeah. So he's right.
Yeah, I mean, you always hear that joke where basically a lot of times it's with a lot of the quantitative, a lot of the math, a lot of the econometrics.
Yeah, econometrics, positivism.
People basically they come up with a theory and then they just try to come up with some sort of formula to justify the theory instead of taking the data and explaining the data, they manipulate the data to construct to justify their narrative.
Right, and using past data to predict the future.
Which is a fool's game.
Yeah, but it's there's a famous series of articles, running articles called "The Making of an Economist," and knowing anything about the economy is the third priority. The first priority is doing the mathematics. The second priority is, I think, learning what your PhD advisor wants you to learn or something like that. I mean, I went through that and I learned that it's a lot of pressure, not necessarily knowing a lot about the economy in a practical manner. So would you like to read it? Do you have a favorite paragraph from one of those books you'd like to read about? Well,
you said the first paragraph made you.
No,
I
just. Oh, you're right. I did, but maybe I just turned to it randomly. Or something.
let's give it a shot.
In fact, it was so dense. It's so complicated. You have to read it about 3 times. I mean, he says a lot. He says a lot.
Well, let's see what people think of the first paragraph. To early thinkers, the existence of an order of human activities transcending the vision of an ordering mind seemed impossible. Even Aristotle, who comes fairly late, still believed that order among men could extend only so far as the voice of a herald could reach, and that a statue numbering 100,000 people was thus impossible. Yet, what Aristotle thought impossible had already happened by the time he wrote these words. Despite his achievements as a scientist, Aristotle spoke from his instincts and not from observation or reflection when he confined human order to the reach of a herald's cry. That's the first paragraph.
Very, very good. And then it would take a whole book to unpack that sentence.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm being told that our time is up. So, Alex, once again, thank you for coming and sharing books which mean a lot to me with Hardfire Television. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time on Hardfire.
Thank you.